Hi and welcome to another Blades of Destron devlog, a medieval fantasy 2D fighting game with a campaign mode that I'll pretend is comparable to Mount & Blade. Currently in the overworld you can fight, gain XP, loot and level up. But we also need to add conquering locations, creating a faction and recruiting units. So in order to implement conquering, I simply added a new topic to the location leader's conversation that will start a siege. It's just a normal battle for now against a randomly generated unit of the faction that owns the location, but I will change this soon. The unit fight depends on the location type and its prosperity. So naturally a farm with a low prosperity will generate a low tier unit. Now, if you conquered a location and it has low prosperity, you need ways to raise it. Any non-hostile character that visits a location will already increase its prosperity slightly, but I've also made it so that anything that the player does inside the location menu will affect the prosperity as well. So basically, spending gold with merchants, surgeons and so on increases prosperity, and since less prosperous equals more expensive, abusing this mechanic shouldn't be a problem. In the future, playing the minigames that I've mentioned in previous devlogs will also be a way for the player to affect prosperity. Before I continue, I held a poll on Discord on what features people wanted me to prioritize. Unsurprisingly, bigger battles is what everyone wanted to see. And since such a feature would have pretty far-reaching consequences, it's probably better to deal with as soon as possible. So I'll make each wanderer have a retinue consisting of a maximum of whatever arbitrary number I'll eventually settle on as a size limit. These retinue units contain a reference to a unit ID, a seed so that the appearance of the unit will be consistent, as well as a level and XP for upgrading the unit sometime in the future. Now, testing it out in the quick battle mode, it's complete chaos and a lot of fun, but still very chaotic. Sometime in the future, I'll make the AI behave more realistically with just 2 or 3 active combatants on each side at a time, while the others recover in the back. Anyway, speaking of the quick battle mode, I need to add a new menu here for the retinue so that it can be customized. And while I do that, I like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for supporting the channel and being a part of Gladiatrons, our community gladiator game, that right now is paused until I've created a Discord bot for the launch of Season 3. But to make it up to everyone, at the end of this video I will share some more information on another little community event involving Blades of Destron instead. Plus I'll be guaranteeing as supporters a spot for their own lore-friendly characters that will be added as essential wanderers and potential companions in the campaign mode. That's why, aside from this retinue menu here where you can add and remove units, I've also made a copy and a paste button in the customization menu so that people can share their characters with me over on discord.gg/dreamon. Now, as for retinue units in the campaign mode, I've made one way of recruiting them be to buy them off of a mercenary's retinue. And as with most things involving trade, the charisma skill affects the price, together with the level of the unit that you want to hire and the size of the retinue. Which means that buying the last few units from someone's retinue will become more expensive. But I still haven't figured out how to make recruiting from locations work. I know that it has to involve the location's prosperity, the player relation to the owning faction, and the number of recruits available that will replenish something like every in-game week. So after some thinking, I decided to just create a new menu for recruiting instead of handling it entirely through dialogues. And after some more thinking, I decided to also completely remake the way in which NPC wanderers are handled. Before, every wanderer in the game stored as much data as the player. They looted from defeated enemies, gained XP and leveled up exactly as the player would do. Which always begged the question, why don't they also do this other new thing that the player is now able to do? And at my current skill level, this was quickly making the code unmanageable. So long story short, I've simplified things a lot, again by using unit IDs and seeds. Granted, NPCs are now completely static in terms of progression, but I doubt it will be that noticeable to players since a lot of these details lacked any real impact on gameplay. Now instead, I will make use of troop trees. Just like in, you guessed it, just like in Mount & Blade. At this point I should make myself the leader of the looters faction because I'm essentially looting Mountain Blade for every last feature that it has. So anyway, you're gonna be able to upgrade your Retinue units here eventually, but right now I want to wrap this update up by first conquering a location. As you can see, the garrison that is generated is pretty weak since it was a minor location with low prosperity. And then we'll create our own faction using this new menu here. Right now you can only choose between 3 different emblems, but I plan on adding more in the future. So now most of the foundational elements of the game are mostly functional. I've uploaded another beta version for Android, which hopefully will be one of the last ones before I'm able to release the game into early access. Until then, you can join the community event that I mentioned before by creating a character with a maximum of 250 attack and defense rating and 2500 retinue rating. Copy and paste it into the BOD tournament channel on Discord, and during next Devlog's Patreon segment you can watch your character battle it out against other members' characters in an AI simulated knockout tournament. If you haven't already, join the beta on Android by visiting dreamastudios.com/beta and follow the instructions there. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.